We saw, just before the 2015 elections, that the campaign was going along the lines of ethnicity and religion. And in 2015, even though the elections themselves were said to be free and fair, it was largely divisive. And people have also, said that there's been very little done, to try and heal the wounds of divisions that have plagued the country. And even now, we're seeing this. I mean, herdsmen attacks, GNI blasts, Christian Association of Nigeria. We can see how that is moving more of the divisions along religious lines. And we're also beginning to see, we don't know how much we can attach to this since it's been attributed to sources, but we're seeing here foreign terrorists flood Nigeria. DSS arrests mercenaries, Islamic fighters in Benue, Edo, Kogi. Presidency uncovers plan to Islamize Nigeria. This is the kinds of things that we're beginning to see now, feeding more into the theories that people have and their suspicions and their fears. What do you think that government ought to be doing at this time? I mean, considering the fact that people have said for a long time we're sitting on a keg of gunpowder, but the chances are high that 2019 is just around the corner. Perhaps it might be exploding right underneath our bombs.
Well, for me, when I also got online the issue of foreign, whatever, I think it came out yesterday, hearing this, and it was really, for me, I personally would agree, I would toe that line, because it means, like I said, intelligence has started. Maybe the DSS, of course, are now doing more in terms of intelligence, and they begin to get information of what is happening. Because I still can't understand how you tell me somebody who is supposed to be rearing cattle, or his problem is he doesn't have a grazing route, will go in and slaughter people. I mean, if you're trying to steal cattle, you won't go into people's villages. You go after the people with the cattle. The cattle people are saying over 2 million of their cattle is being stolen. So for me, I think this is true. Something from somewhere is coming in to really cause this havoc. Why? Because of maybe they have an agenda. I even read today, I don't know, I can't remember whether something about had to do with ISIS related, saying this. That is totally unfortunate. The security forces need to really up this game in terms of this. This is the first step. At least we're seeing this in terms of it coming out like this, because something is really coming in. This is not the way the Fulanis and the Benue people and people in Numan, in Zamfara have been living for years. This is not how it is. Something is happening, and if we take our eye off the ball, and then secondly, it will really come back to, and then secondly, in terms of statements that we make from people in high-level places, let me say leaders, whether religious leaders, whether this, I know people were all pained. One way or another, it affects us, and it's really very painful. But we still need to realize that as leaders, we should know what to say because of the repercussion of it. I see more of talking in Nigeria than acting. People should do more of acting. And it creates the fear you're talking about. Because, for instance, I give you an example. If I go to the mosque today and I hear my imam today come up, and give a sermon, and then he's talking about like, oh, anybody that is seen doing this, we should go after him. I mean, what do you think that would do? Or you go to a church, you see? So these kind of statements, whether be it in church or what, it just causes division. And that is what we don't need. And it affects the most vulnerable people, because the ones that are the most vulnerable are the really poor, the ones that really listen. I mean, some of us would not really pay attention because they'll say, no, I have. But these people really, it sinks into their heads.
But Mr. Mohammed, in fairness, is this not an indictment? I mean, you're a member of the APC. Is this not an indictment on the leadership of your own party, even from the level of the presidency, that we're on this stage talking about things that are absolutely not clear? We've talked about the newspaper headlines, that they feed into these storylines, these plot lines that can't quite be verified. Is it not an indictment in your mind?
Well, indictment in the sense that when you say indictment on the APC...
On the capacity to deal with the problem facing Nigerians in that region.
Okay, I would say yes and no. And I'll tell you why. Because work is being done towards resolving it. It can't be resolved in one time, in one single sweep. But work is being done. And I tell you, let me just use this. Since it happened, we saw deployment of the IG there. We saw deployment of security forces. Even this story coming out today, it must mean this. We've seen a meeting of ECOWAS coming together through ministers. Things are being done to fix it. But we are always reacting. We're never proactive in this country. We need to be more of being proactive. And that's why when I started, I talked about the issue of we need intelligence and get policing right. And even to take it to the next level, we need to bring back our local governments to be in place, because that is really an arm of government that really is at the grassroots. And these things happen around the ground. For us to say, has this government not, I think at least we are not where we ought to be with this, but vis-a-vis the steps we have seen today, I believe that we have started to move in the right direction of getting it right.
Well, we understand that the APC governors visited Benue to pay a condolence visit, and of course the leader of the group, the chairman of the APC Governors Forum, the governor of Borno State, Kashim Shettima, said a thing or two. So let's listen to him on their visit.
The APC won in Benue, not because of Buhari, but in spite of Buhari. And people are trying to make a political capital out of the crisis in Benue, and we will not allow that to happen.
What do we make of that statement?
Well, again, like I said, politics being used in virtually almost everything that happens in Nigeria. I know to some people they will say it's hard to separate it. We always attach an angle to something. Maybe, I don't know, they have their own reasons for saying this, but I think what is really most striking for me is this is not what I would have wanted to hear them roll out, you know, steps. They've come, the northern governors, where most of these things happen. It would have been better.
But he said something remarkable there, that the APC won in Benue, not because of Buhari, but in spite of him. Doesn't that carry some weight? Because there had been some suspicion, especially in some of the north-central states, you know, as to what precisely may happen if the president becomes, I mean, President Buhari was president now, becomes president. Nevertheless, of course, there were some, of course, local issues which also worked in the favor of the APC, which upturned the tables. How would you say that the president himself has handled some of the suspicions that predated his coming into office, now that he's there?
Well, I would say, in terms of when you say suspicions, the president has clearly, not once, not twice, always come out to show that he is for everybody. Nothing is because of where I come from or my religion or something. I think that has been, I don't know, except if you want it to be said in another language. He has used every opportunity to really clearly show that that is not even an issue in his mind. He, even from his training as a military general, the unity of this country is all that matters to him. That's why you see at any point in time, wherever there's an opportunity for this, he talks about the unity of us. We must work together as a country. I don't really see the fact that, except some people just do not want to hear it. Because why? Why would you say that is, I mean, suspicions? I mean, what is it? Is it that he has come out to romance a certain group of strangers? No, he has totally condemned it. He has really gone outrightly from his utterances, even from the actions of the people around him. So I really don't know where this is coming from, that we'll keep giving that suspicion that there is this personal thing with the president that has this.